So, Hazel, welcome to the podcast. Could you please give us a little bit of an introduction? What do you do? Who are you? Where are you from? That kind of thing, please.
So, obviously, my name is Hazel. I live in Dublin, in Ireland. I am a mum of two kids. I'm an online PT and nutrition coach. I help busy, high performing women, take back control of their health and their fitness, and if they want to lose body fat, that as well. I've helped hundreds of women. I've worked on James Smith's app, another big influencer. So yeah, I've been doing this a while with a lot of women and have seen it all. I also work part-time in a primary school. So I think what that brings for me as well is just experience of both worlds. I understand what it's like fitness, the gym. It's not my whole life. I know what it's like to be out there in the real world going to work.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially because, like you said, high performing women
Yeah.
that you help, we're so busy with so many other things. I was going to ask you, we sort of have to show up for everyone else, whether it be our clients, our family, like you're a mum as well. I'm a mum of three, so I completely get it as well. And as a high performing woman, why do you think like the nutrition side of things and the training side often gets treated as like a luxury and not necessarily a non-negotiable for people?
I think it's because technically you can't see that you're letting yourself down, or that maybe your health is declining or suffering. Like if you don't answer your emails for work, or if you don't answer a client back, if you don't collect your kid from school,
Yeah.
it's noticed and there is consequences. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like everyone can see it. Whereas when it comes to say showing up for your workouts, or choosing the healthy lunch over just skipping it and going for the croissant, these things are slowly happening, and you can't see the immediate consequence of that the same way you would see it is if you just didn't answer the phone to the school, or didn't reply to the client, or show up for the call, or show up for work. There are immediate consequences that, where it's just easier then for us, if something has to go, well, we might as well let it be ourselves, because you can't physically see it, if that makes sense. I
Yeah.
think that is the biggest thing. It's like, even if a client has come to me and they've gained a lot of weight, and they're like, I actually don't know how this happened, and it's because it's so slow. It's
Mm.
not one skipped workout. It's not one meal out. It compounds over years.
Yeah, I totally agree. I literally had my third baby, and for some weird reason, like let myself do that as well. And I put on like a stone. Not, don't get me wrong, I'm not like unhappy and too big or anything, but I even let myself go. And I am one of those women who's always been into fitness and health and nutrition, so like I tend to think like, if I can let myself go,
Yeah.
then how easy must it be for the women that are really high performers as well? Let's be honest, because it's harder,
Mm.
and or it feels harder. And also, with the busy ones, the ones that aren't even into it, it must be so
Yeah.
much more easy, I guess, just to let it go. And you're right, it does just creep up on you, doesn't it?
It really does. It really does. And like that, when I have clients who are out of the house for I have a client in particular, she's a solicitor. She could be gone out of the house for 12, 14 hours a day,
Yeah.
kids at home. She doesn't really have a lot of flexibility. So it can, I never want women to feel shameful for it happening, or oh my God, how have I let this happen? Because it's so easy, because it goes so unnoticed for so long.
Yeah, I love that you say that. Thank you. I think the listeners will
Mm.
love that as well, because it's almost like a
Yeah.
permission slip to say it's okay, like we've gotten here
Yeah.
and we can
Yeah.
turn it around. Um,
Exactly.
What would you say is like the real cost of it though, like the underfueling and the undertraining for people like me who are constant, and other people that listen to this podcast? They are high performing women that have got a business, and they're probably a mum as well. Some people that listen to this podcast might even have two businesses,
Yeah.
or a job, and like a bit like yourself actually,
Yeah.
like a job and a business. So what is the real cost of that mentally and physically in your eyes?
I think a big thing I see, and it's nearly accepted online, and it doesn't have to be, is so many women are saying I'm overstimulated, I'm so overstimulated, or snappy and things like that. And I did a post there a while ago. It's like, are you overstimulated or are you like underfueled? Are you overstimulated or are your veins pumping with caffeine? Like, you know yourself, I know it's kind of like a joke we make, and like even with our kids, like, you know, you get hangry and you're like
Mm,
snappy and you're like, oh my god, you sometimes you even regret the things you say. So the big cost is kind of, we think it's just stress from the outside world stressing us out, but you don't realize you're putting your body under stress by not fueling it well and by not moving it and looking after it. So this stress that we're calling like overstimulated, again, we're adding to that and adding to that, and then the cost does tend to be like, you know, we can end up snappy when we don't want to be, like poor decision making, you know, like when you're tired, and like tiredness doesn't just come from lack of sleep, because I actually don't even preach about sleep too much, because like yourself, for some women, me to be like, you need to get 8 hours of sleep, they're like, grand, I have twins waking me, like it's not going to happen. But there are other things we can do then to kind of like regulate our bodies and look after our bodies, and that is like fueling it,
mm,
moving it, and like it even a big one that gets missed is even like hydrating ourselves.
mm,
Do you know, like getting to like 5 o'clock and being like, oh my god, all I've drank is coffee, you
mm.
know, and then wonder why we're so overstimulated. I'm not taking away from the fact that, of course, like real life is stressful too, and kids and work, but we're not helping ourselves, particularly by like skipping meals and
Mm.
running off caffeine.
Yeah, yeah, it really triggers even more stress, doesn't it? I was
Yeah.
speaking to one of my clients the other day, and it was like, you know, she's having a overwhelmed day type thing. And I
Mm.
was like, have you been outside today? Have you
Yeah.
moved? Have you had some water? Have you had
Yeah.
a nutritious meal? Has there been any protein today? You know,
Yeah.
because I'm a beauty business and mindset coach, right? But I'm like, I lead from that you come first type thing. So it's,
Exactly.
you've got to, I'm so on your wavelength. I'm loving this because it's like
Yeah.
right up my street. I always say to people, you know, have you put yourself first? Have you done any of this today? It's the bare minimum in my eyes, you know.
Yeah.
Although
I
it's,
think, go on,
yeah,
sorry.
you go.
No, I think like we're kind of even conditioned to think like, well, I'm surviving. I'm
Mm,
showing up for work. I'm showing up I'm at the school gate on time every day. I'm there for work, but it's just barely surviving. Whereas like you
mm,
deserve to be thriving. You deserve to be like enjoying your business, enjoying your kids, and enjoying your life. And you just can't do that from a place of depletion.
mm. Yeah, I love that. And I see it so much in myself when I don't do those things. I get
Yeah.
so irritable with my kids. I mean, you and I are in a space together, just for the listeners, me and Hazel are in
Yeah.
a space together, and I went in there the other day and I was like, guys, shouty mum, like, what can I do about this
I
whole
know.
shouty mum situation? And it is because I'm not fueling myself enough or giving myself that extra love and movement. What I wanted to ask you is this, and everybody is going to tell me I don't have time. Okay,
Mm.
that's going to be the number one objection when it comes to this. So, what would you say to somebody with that belief?
I always start with this. I'm like, if your business or your boss or your kids needed you for an extra 90 minutes this week, like spread across the week, would you be able to make that time? And look, I've been guilty of this in the past. Like, if you had asked me a couple of months ago, like, have you got an extra few hours in your week? I'd be like, absolutely not. But then my son joined a new football team that is
Mm,
requiring about an extra 4 to 5 hours of me a week. And I made it happen because, again, it's for him and it would be noticed. So I'll like always start with that. And that just kind of gets people thinking, like, you know, my boss does ask me to stay back a half an hour sometimes and I do it. Or, you know, an extra thing comes up at the school and I do it. And then I think, like, and true, again, no fault of our own. I think like social media has a lot to answer for this. I think women think to just do like the bare basics of like a bit of strength training and stuff, you need to be in the gym for hours and you need to have like this aesthetically pleasing gym to be in. And it's not like a decent, say, like you can get such a decent workout at home in 30 minutes with minimal equipment. And I do
mm,
believe most women can do that 2 to 3 times a
mm,
week.
yeah.
And that's in terms of, I'm like, when it comes to nutrition, I'm like, it doesn't have to require more time. Like, you're making the decision anyway. So like when you wake up in the morning, you're deciding whether to have the coffee and nothing else, or you're deciding to sit down with a bowl of oats instead. At lunch, you know, you're deciding whether to grab the croissant or get the salad. You know, with nutrition, it definitely doesn't require as much time as people are telling themselves, because we're making nutrition choices either way. It's just, maybe obviously you need to be a bit more prepared. Like, you'll have to have the oats in the house to make that decision. Like, you know, you'll have to have the lunch there, but nutrition doesn't need to require more of you. It's just the decisions. And it's harder to make those decisions as well when you're like so hungry and overstimulated, you know?
Yeah, that's the vicious cycle, isn't it? I find, you know, if you start off on the right foot, you tend to make better decisions going forward. And if you're regulated and your body feels good because you fueled it well, you won't have the cravings, you will make better decisions, etc., etc. I find as well what you just touched on there, like when I cook for the kids, I've got 3 kids, right? So I have to do, and we like to cook fresh, homemade most days. I'd say 90% of the time it's all fresh. I'll give them fish fingers once every now and then or whatever. But I don't love doing it. But what makes me laugh the most is that the quickest dishes are the ones that are fresh. Like,
100%. Like,
they're the ones that I've just gotten the meat from the butchers and I've whipped it up in my pan and my spices, and I've done a healthy side, you know, veggies and all carbs or whatever. So it is that thing, like it would take longer for me to order a takeaway. But we do that for convenience, but it would take longer for it to arrive.
And to sit and order and then like feel like crap like most of the time. You know, like I very rarely spend more than 20 minutes on dinner. And like one of my kids is fussy, one of them is a vegetarian. Like there are ways around it to do it, make a variation of theirs. Like if I have to cook the meat and the veg in separate pans, like so be it. Do you know what I mean? It's just being adaptable rather than we can talk ourselves into a lot of things.
We can.
You know,
we can. Our brains are very clever.
Yeah. Especially when we're tired. Like you can be like, oh well, and then you just kind of, and I know easier said than done when you're in this loop, but like you just kind of need to be stronger than that and be like, come on now, that's a bit of a silly excuse I'm giving myself here. What I'll always say, like, what would my future self, and not future self, you want to think of like when you're in your 70s and 80s, but tomorrow, like when I wake up tomorrow, will I be happy with the decisions I made the day before, you know?
It's all preparation, isn't it? You just
literally.
I was going to ask, do you have a specific way that you help women reframe it if they work with you type thing? You know, like reframing that fitness and nutrition as something that actually gives them time, gives them more energy and more capacity rather than taking from them and like making things harder.
This one is hard because I feel like you need to see the benefits first to be able to have the reframe. So I will always, like when someone starts with me, we always start small. Like I'm never just going to like throw nutrition targets at them and be like, track these calories, get in the gym, do this superset. It's never that. And I know that's probably what they want at first, but it's literally like you were saying earlier, 3 meals, water and walk. So that's where I'll start. And then hopefully they can see the benefits. But a question I do ask them is like, if you had more clarity, more energy and a better mood, like how differently would you be showing up in work? Like if you had a better mood and work and more energy, just ask yourself, like, would you be showing up better? Would you be more productive? And the answer is normally yes, because we tend to think like, if I work through lunch, I'll get more done. If I skip this, I'll get more done. And while technically you might, like I said, be present and survive in that moment, like there's even been studies to show like it does not make you more productive. What's going to make you more productive, and I like encourage any boss listening to this, like if you could let your employees go for like a 20-minute walk during their lunch break, they're going to come back so much more productive than they would if they had just slammed through maybe just drinking coffee at their desk, you know.
Yeah, it's making me think about the office. I did work in an office for many years back in the day.
Yeah,
it's making me think about that because like I say, I've always been on this health stuff anyway. So for me, I used to get up and go for a walk, and I was fucking productive. I was, you know, like, and on the days where I didn't, for example, if I worked through, you do just almost feel like the output is way less potent. Like
exactly,
it's just not as good, is it?
No.
What does training look like for a woman like me, for example? If I want to perform really highly in life and business, I don't just want to change the way I look, I want to perform well in everything. What would you say that training and everything looks like for someone like that?
So funny you say that. I can actually tie this back to what you were saying about being more potent. What I'll say to all my
Mm.
clients is like, when you go into a workout, just because it's 30 minutes, you want to be so intentional with that 30 minutes. So when you're going into that 30 minutes, like give it your all and don't underestimate it. So like 2 to 3 strength sessions a week can be so beneficial for women. Like on a side tangent, like as women, when we get to like 30 plus, we're losing like 3 to 5% of our muscle mass and bone density like every decade. And the only way to offset that is going to be your strength training and eating a high protein diet. And to be able to maintain this, again, there's been studies shown that like 2 to 3 times a week of strength training is plenty. And then walking, the most underrated like health drug out there, is like, do not underestimate. And I think where high performing women get stuck is we're kind of perfectionists, right? So
Yeah.
like that can keep you stuck, because it's like, well, if I can't do the perfect workout, or if I only have 20 minutes, there's no point. Something is always going to be better than nothing.
Mm.
Like don't underestimate 20 to 30 minutes of a strength training session. And I'll say as well, like, is what I've noticed, a lot of clients come to me after they've been with like a really strict, sometimes male coach. And I think that's who we're kind of drawn to, because we're like, I'm a boss. Like I could do his plan easily. I could get shredded easily. And then it kind of leaves them a bit scarred from the whole thing. Is don't try and fit that type of plan into your life. Do you know what I mean? Like if you're on
Mm.
social media and you see these like influencers and they have these plans, like that, they're not gonna be built for your life. Like when you are signing up to a plan, make sure it's someone you know is going to understand the ins and outs of a high performing woman's life, probably with kids.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. I've done that myself. I've worked with, in fact, every training partner slash coach I've ever had would have been male. In fact,
Yeah.
maybe once. I think when I was pregnant with my second or first baby, there was a woman that trained me through that. But other than
Mm.
that, it was all men. And they are, one of them, like, my God, like the fierceness, like I'm literally nearly dying in this session. I'm like, I'm going to be sick. Like, I know that's not always a terrible thing,
Yeah.
but I was like, I need to stop. And he
Yeah.
was shouty, like that
Yeah.
kind of PT that's shouty. And I was just like, oh, I don't love it.
Yeah.
It's so interesting to hear you say about it, because I think, fitting in 2 to 3 strength sessions a week.
Mm.
I mean, if I was, some people think that they've got to go out and they'll do something like a run, and
Yeah.
I hear this a lot. They say that, even my husband says this actually. Just
Mm.
going to put him on the chopping block. He says to me sometimes, just go for a run, because I do run sometimes.
Yeah.
And actually, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like the intensity and the strength training helps me feel stronger for longer than going out and burning more calories on a run. And I also never really feel like I lean up that much either when I'm constantly running. Is the strength training better than that, like, real blast of cardio, would you say?
So, like, what I always say is like they're totally different, and that's kind of where people get up. So, like, running is great for cardio, but it's never gonna replace strength training and like even your posture. So, like, I had a client before, and she was like working from home, hunched over from the laptop, and like we added like rows, like bent over rows, into her strength training to strengthen her back. So you're
Mm,
right, that way is going to leave you feeling stronger for the day, as in even your posture can change because you've like opened out your back and your muscles, and the way you carry yourself is going to be totally different. And it's why like even women can see their body image change so much with strength training, because the confidence it gives them. Like once you see
mm,
yourself, to physically see yourself getting stronger is like, so like the feeling is unmatched. And then, as I said, it can fix your posture. So the way you walk into a room can
mm.
even be different, and how you hold yourself can be different by adding in these couple of strength sessions a week.
Yeah, it's really making me need to like get back on it, because I haven't been to the gym in a while, and I've got at home, I've got like I know this is just, you don't need this information, but I'm going to tell you anyway.
No.
I've got like my dumbbell set at home. It's right in
Yeah.
front of me right now.
shouting at you.
Yeah, it's like, why haven't you touched me in a week, you know? But I need to get back into it. And I think it's good to talk to you because it's like, actually, fitting it in is a case of, for me, I just get up at 5, go to the gym, come back, and it's done.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
there something to be said, Hazel, about doing it first thing?
I would say so. Yes,
Hmm.
definitely. Especially for women. If it's an option, I would 100% do it. And I know it's not for everyone. So I'll just preface with that. I know
Hmm.
it's not. But if it is an option for you, I would say do it. And one of the main reasons is because we've so much brain space taken up with decisions all day, all day, all day. If you get that done first thing in the morning, you're less likely to put it off and let everything else get in your way, because the mental load is massive and that piles and piles as the day goes on. And you remember, I have to do this and I've got the school thing and I need to reply to the teacher. Whereas if you get up, you're nearly half asleep putting your gym gear on and you're just out the door and it's done. And it can have a ripple effect on your decisions for the rest of the day. Like, you're more inclined to want to eat that healthy breakfast with protein because you're like, oh, I'm after strength training, I want to recover with my protein and I need to hydrate. Like, you could have I trained early this morning and then by like 7:30, I'd done my session, I'd had 30 grams protein in me and a litre of water. Like, that gives you a massive head start of the day.
I always find I'm like, I've done my steps, I've done
Yeah.
you just look at like the watch if you're wearing one, like, like the
Yeah.
what's it, and you're like, how? I've just done everything. It's not, the kids
Yeah.
aren't even at school yet, and it's just, it feels so accomplished as well,
It
doesn't it? And
does.
it gives
Yeah.
you some serious endorphins, I think.
It does. It definitely improves your mood as well, like for the rest
Yeah.
of the day. And you get to be a bit smug, like,
Yeah.
look at me.
Yeah. I always go on my stories. I'm like, guys, like,
Yeah.
I've done this today.
Exactly. What
So
have you done while the world is sleeping? I'm killing it.
absolutely. I think if it can be done first thing, get it done
Yeah.
and sets you up. So the question I have for you as well is consistency, right? Because I can be really good and then really off and then really good and then really off. And I'm openly admitting that, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, people that aren't as into it as well, if they're listening to this, like, how can we maintain consistency? Because we're mums, we've got businesses, you know, I don't want a perfect routine because something too regimented is probably going to feel restrictive. But what can I do? Like, it can't be too long or extreme. What would
Mm.
you say is the best way for me to get into a consistent routine?
What I would say is, even though like you think you're not trying to be perfect, sometimes we are. So like, say if you weren't able to go to that gym session this morning, you might be like, oh no, like I haven't been able to work out today. It's
Mm,
like, well, what else can you do? So like, could you pick up those dumbbells and do something for 20 minutes? Like, can you go for the walk instead? Or like, sometimes even you take the meat out of the fridge and you're like, oh no, like this is not what I had planned. It's gone off or smelly or whatever. Well, what's the next best thing? Like, I'll have the like Aldi ready meals. Like, I'll have a couple of them in the fridge ready to go. You do want to be able to be flexible with yourself and not set up a routine. So like, I'll always say something that can break. You want to be
mm,
flexible, not have something that can break, that like the smallest life blip, everything goes out the window. It's the same with, say, like, I'll have clients say to me, oh, I'll eat the whole packet of biscuits. And it's like, well, can you have one or two, put the biscuits away?
mm,
And actually a lot of the overeating, like, I know this is kind of a side note, but a lot of the overeating in the evening comes from under fueling during the day. Like, we think we're okay without the breakfast, but it catches up at night. And then women are so hard on themselves, like, I've no willpower in the evening, I've no will. And I'm like, no, you're starving. Like, do you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Your body is like, feed me, and it's like, it's gonna override you saying, but I want to be healthy. It's like, well, I need calories and you haven't given me that today, so we need it from somewhere. That packet of biscuits looks nice.
Yeah, yeah. I take it you help everyone like figure out the BMR and everything that they need at rest and then what they need to add on for their training and stuff. You do all of that.
Yeah. So not at first, that's what I said, because that can kind of overcomplicate it for people. I'll generally just start with the 3 meals, and then like
Okay.
the way my program works, then the second week we move into like, if you want to track a lot of women have a really bad relationship with it from other coaches and stuff.
Mm,
Do you want to track calories and what that could look like for them? And we work out what they would need, because everyone has different needs based on their job, their output, their height, their weight, everything. Like,
Yeah. I've always been told by any coach to track, and I've fallen out of love with it because it
Yeah.
feels so. It doesn't even feel restrictive. The amount I need to eat and whatever. I always find when I'm tracking that I need to up the protein. I think everybody knows that.
Mm.
But I just feel like I can't be bothered because it takes too much time to log my
Yeah.
food. I'd much rather like create my dish, like make my plate of food by eye and be like, okay, it's half protein, it's quarter veg, and it's quarter whatever. Do you know what I mean? I'd
That's
rather do that.
exactly what I have like as an option in my coaching is that like, and I teach people how to do that the very first week and explain why they're doing that. Because like, again, I've been with coaches and they're like, give me these targets, protein, fats, carbs. It's like, well, why? Like, do you know, I
Mm,
want to know the why behind every time I explain why each one is so important for women. Like, fats can easily slip, and like, fats help us balance our hormones. They help us absorb and transport any vitamins and minerals around the body. Yet, a lot of women will aim to low fat. So, I'll show them how to build a plate and why that's so important. So, we don't always have to track. And what I'll say is, like, if you have tracked before, right?
yeah.
If you're like me and you've tracked in the past, tracking can be a great tool to educate you and bring awareness to your choices. So if you've done that before, like you have that knowledge, like you would have a rough fight, like you're like, well, I know that like, a big heaped teaspoon of peanut butter has a lot of calories. You know that. And like you said, you can eyeball a lot of things. So I'll say like if you've tracked in the past and you've tracked properly where you've like weighed out your food and you have some idea,
Mm,
you don't necessarily have to do that then. Do you know what I mean? You have the awareness, you have the education, and it's just a tool. I do think maybe everyone should do it at some point to get that education, not from a restrictive point, but just to be able to say, well, especially now the way things are marketed, like I have a granola down there that says it's high protein. It's not high protein. It's just
yeah.
marketed that way. So to have some sort of awareness and education to be able to be like, well, it's actually only 4 grams of protein. I want to be getting
Mm,
20. It can help in that way, but it's not something I think anybody needs to do forever.
yeah, I love that stance. What do you think about processed foods and ultra processed and things? Because I went through a stage. In fact, I'm still there, but I'm like, what's the word? Not scared, but I'm like, like I don't want to touch it. I do, I do. Like
Mm,
I said, the kids have
mm,
fish fingers every now and then. But I mean, I just hate it. I hate the whole scaremongering around everything, and
I know.
I'm having to train myself to read more ingredients lists. And if my husband picks something up in a store, I'm like, oh God, put that back. It's got this in it. It's got that in it. It's like full of shit. What's your stance on telling people about process? Do you teach them how to navigate?
So obviously we want like at least like about 80% of our diet from like whole foods, natural foods. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of scaremongering out there, and like the people that are doing it have very loud voices. I would say go and follow actual dietitians. They're actually at the minute, I shared on my stories the other day. I can send it to you if anyone wants it then after. But follow actual dietitians. A lot of the people doing this scaremongering have zero qualifications. Like we need preservatives in foods to keep it fresh. Like a good point a dietitian made the other day was like, I'd rather some preservatives in my food than a listeria outbreak. Sometimes they're actually keeping you safe from your food, going off and just being able to keep it fresher for longer, and these convenience foods, we don't need to be scared of them, like, because technically unless you plan on like building a vegetable patch out your back and
Yeah.
living off the land, everything is processed in some way. Like your chicken fillets are sealed up to keep them fresh, you know what I mean? They've gone
Mm,
through a process,
mm.
and even the fruit before it's packed and stuff like that, everything goes through a process. So unless we want to live off the land, we just kind of need to be okay with the fact that to have access to these foods, they're going to be processed in some way. And just, I think a lot of it is like being an adult about it too. Like we
Mm.
know that eating too many cakes and biscuits and all that, it's not great for us. There's like zero nutritional value to those type of foods, but we can still have them in there for the taste and enjoyment when we have like 80% of the whole foods covered.
Mm, yeah, I do say that as well. I think it's always like the 80-20 rule, isn't it?
Yeah,
In
because you want to live
anything.
your life.
Yeah, I do, exactly. I've like got a bag of minstrels in the fridge and I'm not letting the kids
Yeah.
know that they're in there. They're hidden. Okay.
I have a purple snack bar down there. Put your own oxygen mask on first. Hide that.
Absolutely. I'm having a couple of those every night at the
Yeah.
minute, okay? Right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, you know, like you said earlier, it's like, can you put the packet of biscuits back? And I do, I do practice that willpower, you know, like, well, I'll have a handful and then I'll put them back. And some
Yeah.
people just can't, can they? So it's kind
No.
of like we have to build up that muscle of like,
Yeah.
it is okay. Because I used to live by the rule of like, it's once it's gone, it's gone. So I'd eat it all.
I know, yeah. And then I'll start again tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But then somebody buys another fucking packet.
I
So you've
know.
got to build up that muscle, haven't you? Of like, actually, it's okay to keep
Yeah.
a little bit in sight as long as you're working on that discipline as such, you know?
Yeah, and even having it, like, even if it's in the house, I like to put, like, say when like the Easter eggs or the Christmas stuff and all comes around, I'll put it like even somewhere a little bit awkward to reach, so that like I'd have to drag a chair out, like say on top of the cupboards.
Yeah.
And that can, because it's the pause that's the hard part. It's pausing for that minute to be able to say, do I actually want to do this? You know, is this in line with whatever goals I'm working on at the minute? So if you have it out of reach and out of sight, but you still know it's there. So if you really fancy it, yeah, get up and get it. But being able to just slow the process down of like just grabbing it out of the press and being like, oh yeah, there's those biscuits, and it's nearly over before you've even tasted it. You know, just being able to slow it down. And what I'll always say, just being so much more intentional then. And when you're intentional with it and you're like, no, I actually do want it, you'll enjoy it more too.
So, what I wanted to say to you is, what kind of mindset shifts or practices would you recommend for, you know, like a woman like me to finally say, no, I am prioritizing myself and I'm not going to feel guilty, you know?
Um, I suppose like I would think of your future self. So like I was saying earlier about, you know, it doesn't have to, we can find it hard. If I was to say to you, think of your like 70-year-old self, while like in theory that sounds great and we should be thinking that, like, you know, we want to be able to look after ourselves when we're older, that can be very hard because it's easier to like put it off. I would say I would constantly be asking myself, like, what will my future self tomorrow, you know, be thankful for the choices that I have made today. Do you know what I mean? And not that we should feel guilty, we shouldn't, but I just know that's easier said than done to say to mums. But like, if you are ever feeling guilty for like, you know, taking time for yourself or looking after yourself, like think of how that benefits your kids, like how you're going to show up better for them, just taking that little amount of time. Like I said, like we can be less snappy, we can, you know, just show up better. And also the example you're going to be setting for them, like
Yeah.
that they see this, you know, I need to look after myself, like my mom looks after herself, you know, strength training is normal, even if it's at home and it's in the house, you know, we get it done. I think that can remove some of the guilt, you know, to think of how much better you're going to show up in all your life. It's not taken away, it's actually going to give so much more value and just help you enjoy your life. Like, and again, like I said earlier, this takes, don't expect to just eat 3 meals one day and then tomorrow be like, oh, she was talking crap, I don't feel any different. It's like, no, you know, your body is in this spiral right now. You need to get everything back to like a level. And that takes like at least a week or two of having that stable fuel coming in, you know,
Yeah.
your carbs, your fats, your protein, that needs to be stable coming in. And, you know, you need to hydrate yourself. And when you start seeing the benefits, I actually heard a girl say there a while ago, it was so funny. She was like, it's like when you're in a bad relationship, you don't realize how bad it is until you're out of it. And you're like, oh, this is how good it can be, because we're just in that survival mode and you
Yeah.
could actually be thriving.
Yeah, I love that. And back to the kids as well. Like my little boy will pick up the weights every day because they're
Oh,
here and they're in his vision. And he's like, he'll see his cousins as well because they're big on the gym and everything. And he'll
yeah,
be like wanting to do their training with them. And I do actually think that there's such a huge thing to be said for that because he is so into it. And
yeah,
I know he will always want to feel strong because he is, and he's only 7, but he will,
yeah,
if he started to not feel strong, he would be like, oh, I don't feel, you know what I mean? And it's not to do
exactly.
with anything other than the fact that he feels strong and he knows he's fast and strong and he loves that. And the same with my daughter, you know, sometimes she's like, I need to be healthy actually. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
you probably should be, babe, you know. And like when I'm doing a workout, they will join me if I'm at home doing it. My
That's
youngest
so
is
nice.
3, so he's not quite as helpful when he joins in, but he does join in. And it is just, it's really nice. The other day, my son said to me, "You haven't been to the gym this week." And I was like,
Ah.
all right, Mr. Accountability, you
You need
know.
your own coach at home.
Yeah, absolutely. Because and they've noticed that, or they'll say, "When are you going to go for a run?" And I'm like, "Mummy only runs in the summer,"
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
not
that's my stories this morning on a machine in the gym. Like, I'm just waiting for the bright mornings again.
100%. I can't go out there when it's this cold and wet and rank. I just can't do it. I love a
No,
run,
no.
but only when it's sunny and like it just does way more for my mental health
Yeah,
in the summer, you
yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah, 100%. And just even on the kids, like I even have in my program, because it's so important, like a whole module on like the language we use around this with our kids. Like it's
Oh wow.
great that like, your son is saying he wants to do it because he's strong, and your daughter wants to do it because she wants to be healthy, rather than like what, like, I don't know about you, but I know myself and a lot of clients would have heard growing up, it's just like, I need to be skinny, or,
Yeah.
this type of real restriction, only exercising to burn calories. Like, it's just, we need to be so mindful while we're setting this good example, like the language we're using. Like, my little boy plays football, and he wants, like, he'll be doing like a little bit of strength training at home because he's like, I need to get my legs stronger for
Oh,
football, like, so
yeah.
it's just such a nice ripple effect when you see that happening too.
Yeah, I love that. I think you're so right because I said one of my things the other week. My daughter said something about a diet, like she
Yeah,
used the word diet, and I was like, we don't need to diet. I said,
yeah,
like it's just being healthy. I was like, healthy
yeah.
choices, and she was like, yeah. But you think, I wonder where you've really sort of got that from, because it could be from me where I've said
Mm,
to my husband, "Oh God, why are you giving me that?" And
yeah.
she might have caught on to that. So it really does give you that switch when you think,
Mm,
"Oh, okay, they do pick up on absolutely everything." And the worst,
mm.
it like I will never want to hear her say, "I don't want to
I
be
know.
too big or too fat," and those words.
Yeah,
When I
yeah,
grew up, it was very much like you've got to be skinny.
yeah.
I mean, I'm 35, nearly 36, and
Oh, same.
oh, are you? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was literally like, you've got to be skinny. I
Yeah.
had from my mum, from my aunties, from everything around me. It was just that. And
Mm.
I don't want that for her. Definitely not.
No, no, like,
So,
don't eat after a certain time, and no, yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
So it's like, oh no, we can't eat after like 6 p.m. or 5 p.m. or something crazy.
yeah.
Unless, well, I do send my kids to bed and say, no, it's bedtime.
Yeah, well, yeah, and that can be hard to navigate. I'm just like, no, kitchen is closed now. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
done. Or otherwise they'd just be like gremlins down there all night.
Yeah, my kids are literally gremlins, and
Yeah.
it's all like sugary stuff that they want as well. So I'm
Yeah.
just like, dude, like relax. You've just brushed your
Yeah.
teeth.
Yeah, exactly.
The last question I really wanted to ask you was, if a woman is listening, and they know that they've not been prioritizing like things, for themselves,
Mm.
nutrition and training and all of the things that we've talked about, what is the simplest first step that you would invite her to take this week?
It definitely would be the 3 meals a day. But what I would say about those 3 meals is sitting and eating them intentionally. So,
Yeah.
like, sitting down, actually chewing your food, having something that is nutritious, but also that you like the taste of, and actually tasting it. Because I just, anyone listening, I can invite you now to even think, like, how much are you eating on the go, or when you're sitting. Something I do with clients is like, they'll tell when they're sitting, they're nearly almost clenched. I'm like,
Mm,
uncross your legs, put your 2 feet on the ground, unclench your jaw and sit and eat that meal. Like, put your knife and fork down between bites,
mm,
enjoy it, breathe, don't eat it in this stressed state. Like, even if you need to pause for a minute before you have it, look at the meal, calm yourself, and then eat it. But, like, uncross your legs, unclench your wrists, your hands, your jaw, everything, and eat those 3 meals, and give it like a week or two, and you will see such a difference in how you feel throughout the
mm.
day. And then war as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's so good. And it's so easy to do.
It is, and that's what you
So
said, like, when
easy.
it's a simple step, like, so you're not overwhelmed, like, we can all do that. It's not going to require more of you.
Yeah, perfect. Which is what we all
Mm.
need because we're so
Yeah,
busy. So
I
busy.
know.
Right, I've written it all down. I've got 2 to 3 strength training sessions a week. And if I
Yeah,
don't get that in, I'll walk. So I'm good.
yeah, exactly.
Thank you so much. Is there anything that you want to let everybody that is listening like know about? Have you got anything going on that you want them to know about right now?
At the minute, so the main way to work with me is my program. So it's like a 16-week program. Those videos come into it that I talked about, but it's also like one-to-one, coaching where I'm like in it with you. You like I'll get to know your life and your goals so that we can everything we spoke about, I can like tweak this to every woman's life and help them navigate it, no matter what their goal is, like whether that's fat loss or just they want to get stronger or, be better at their job and things like that. I will tweak it and we can make it work. But it's 16 weeks and all those modules build on each other. Body image comes into it. And like I said about the kids and everything. So that's called Fit 2.0. And if you link my Instagram, they can find it there.
Yeah, perfect. I will. I'll link everything in the description. And thank you so much for joining me. It's been
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Everybody who's listening, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you on the next one.